LA This Week.
This leaves a message for not only our trans community, not only our LGBT community, not only our non-binary community, but every person that falls under the Black diaspora.
Vote by mail is not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about being able to exercise your right to vote while keeping as safe and healthy as possible during the COVID-19 pandemic.
We're taking over front yards, empty lots, sometimes rooftops, and getting offers and putting arrangements in place to grow food in those places.
Hello everyone, I'm Rasha Goel. Here's what's happening in LA this week. As a nation, we are counting down to our next general election this November 3rd. With the current pandemic and the crisis with the U.S. Postal Service complicating how voting will happen, it's more important than ever to keep the wheels from falling off on the state and local levels. California's leader in free and fair elections is Secretary of State Alex Padilla. He stopped by the Channel 35 studios to talk with Maria Hall Brown about Election Day 2020.
It took 5 constitutional amendments and a Civil Rights Act to allow all of us the right to vote.
It is wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country.
We're no longer met with bullwhips, fire hoses, and violence when we attempt to register and vote. But the sad fact is, the sad truth is, discrimination still exists.
For this particular November election, every registered voter will in fact receive a ballot in the mail. So what are the safeguards that you have put into place to make sure that all of those votes are going to be safely and accurately counted?
So absolutely. First, I guess the big picture, as you mentioned, free and fair elections are the bedrock of our democracy. Therefore, the access to the ballot is important. And now on top of all that, how do we prepare for a November election that's also safe? From a health perspective, so we did make the decision that we should send every active registered voter a ballot in the mail in advance of the November election.
So I'm not really understanding why it's become a drama in any way.
Here's what voters need to know. There's a number of security provisions that we have to protect the integrity of vote by mail, starting with the ballots themselves, right? Think our currency, very specific paper types, watermarks, other distinguishing features to make it hard to counterfeit ballots and rig an election that way. The vote by mail return envelopes. Those envelopes come with unique barcodes for every voter to help confirm the identity of the voter and the ballot that's being returned, ensuring that people don't vote more than once. Here's a big one. That return envelope has a special designated area where the voter has to sign. And the first thing that county officials do when they receive those envelopes is compare the signature on that envelope with the signature on file as part of that voter registration record to ensure the match, confirming the identity of the voter. If the voter forgot to sign the envelope or the signatures don't match, then the county will attempt to contact that voter to rectify any issue. And here's the last biggest piece. A brand new tool for voters statewide called Where's My Ballot? A very technical name for our ballot tracking tool. Voters can go to vote.ca.gov to receive email messages, text messages on the status of your ballot as it's working its way through the Postal Service. Maria, imagine getting an ultimate alert saying your ballot was received and your ballot was counted. It's great for transparency, great for accountability, and I think great for peace of mind and confidence in the system. We're also going to have a lot of in-person voting options for people who need it.
So let's get down to the practicals, the timeline of how all this should play out.
All right. Well, first of all, for voter registration, the sooner the better. There's a official voter registration deadline that's 2 weeks before the election. But if you've missed that, you can still show up in person and update your registration or register to vote and still cast your ballot. Every active registered voter will receive their ballot in the mail in early October. Counties will send out those ballots no less than 29 days before the election. And LA voters have a great resource in the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder. They can go to lavote.net and have a lot of information there as well.
Dealing with COVID-19 has meant a temporary rollback on many initiatives aimed at making Los Angeles cleaner and greener. Remember the ban of plastic bags, plastic straws? Well, the folks over at LA Cleantech Incubator remain focused as ever on clean air, renewable energy, and practices that promise a brighter tomorrow.
Through the stay-at-home orders, Angelenos had remarkably clean air. An anomaly, perhaps, but if our next guest has any say in the matter, it will become a reality. Matthew Peterson, the CEO and president of the Los Angeles Cleantech Incubator, otherwise known as LACY.
Yep.
Back to the stay-at-home orders. We saw such clean air. Now, there were a number of factors involved, obviously. There was, the lack of traffic because people not going out. There was rain and there was wind. But LACY has an initiative, Zero Emissions 2028, that will hopefully replicate that beautiful crystal clear air. So how is it going, and did we learn anything?
When we were experiencing cleaner air, quieter streets, safer streets, people discovered the benefits of fewer cars on the road, better air quality, and quieter neighborhoods. And that's why we released our Zero Emissions 2028 roadmap, which you mentioned, and in which we set specific targets. Now, setting targets is the easy part. The hard work is actually making it happen. And that's why we've created this unprecedented regional collaboration. LA, it's a dispersed place, and people don't always understand where they are. We just consider this sort of, LA in its greater form. So we're really working hard to see how we can make progress by working with the private sector, working with the public sector, and getting the innovations that also help our lowest income communities, where scooters are not dropped off on the corners in the morning, and there isn't an EV, electric vehicle, let alone a car in the driveway at all. So how do we help everybody improve their lives, create economic opportunity, and clean the air, which has so many benefits?
It seems like electricity is at the cornerstone of so many of these green initiatives because of the fact that it's a clean source of energy. Right. Have you noticed that has become easier to attain, easier to manipulate?
As we're moving in California to 100% clean energy, including here in the city of Los Angeles with the Department of Water and Power, also under Mayor Garcetti's leadership, moving in that direction, there's really a focus on the opportunity in reducing air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. And we're seeing extreme heat right now, and with extreme heat comes extreme drought, and with extreme heat and extreme drought, we get fires. And then, of course, with extreme weather, we get things like freak lightning storms that ignite the fires going on right now in California.
Well, it was really great to talk to you. Thank you so much,
Matt.
Thank
you so much.
Best of everything, of course.
For parents and teachers, the push-pull of when children should have the talk is an ongoing quandary. How early do we talk about difficult things? How soon do we introduce our kids to the more negative parts of life? Well, according to the radical Cram School, we should be having that talk as soon as possible.
Welcome to Radical Cram School. We're going to learn about social justice, revolution, and how to be powerful in the bodies that you have.
I was on Facebook, and Teddy, who lives in Ohio, messaged and asked if I was going to be around LA on Christmas break, because basically Teddy's then 8-year-old daughter, Liberty, had come home saying
some kids were being a bit strange when I mentioned that I was Chinese. So I came home and I told my dad and my mom that I wish I wasn't Chinese. My dad was like, oh, well then let's do something about this so other people will know that they're not alone when it comes to racial discrimination.
I was also someone at her age who was like, I wish I wasn't Chinese anymore. But instead of expressing my insecurities, I screamed aloud, let's make this a web series.
Grace Lee Boggs was a writer, philosophist, activist, and feminist.
This was an interesting challenge, but it was also this opportunity to kind of make the programming that I wanted to see when I was growing up.
I normally teach to undergraduates or graduate students, so this is very different than what I normally do, right? We don't have puppets and amazing sets and lots of comedy in my classroom. It's mainly just me talking.
What if we build a beautiful garden here instead? We could put a beautiful mural on the wall.
There's really nothing like Radical Cram School, so This was a departure for all of us. This was really creating media content that's just not out there.
If they're young enough to experience racism and sexism and oppression, they're young enough to learn about it.
There's a brand new landmark in the heart of Tinseltown, and you can find it smack dab in the middle of Hollywood Boulevard. Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell was among the volunteers that braved the heat to put the finishing touches on a colorful and inclusive new mural. Let's take a look.
This message is not meant to stop all of the things that are going on, but it is meant to really kind of bring to light a lot of the things that are happening within the black community and to the black community.
Maybe the urgency with which we need to act as a society to really eliminate the inequities as it relates to social justice in America. This will be a constant reminder that we must never forget our mission.
There's different components in the mural itself. So the all is in trans colors, which uplifts and amplifies the voices of our trans community. And then the black is in the standard yellow for all Black Lives Matter, right? And so then the lives is in the non-binary flag. And that is a demographic that is often overlooked. And so we wanted to make sure that we emphasize and uplifted those voices. And then the matters is in the standard LGBT pride flag. And so even the background being black lends to the ancestors that we've lost, folks that have started this fight, the Marsha P. Johnsons, the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther Kings, all of those folks that started this work. All we're doing is continuing what that looks like.
This All Black Lives Matter treatment of Hollywood Boulevard is just a way to commemorate the history that was made recently. And as I told Lucky, who designed this graphic, this is where we meet the moment, you know? So this is very exciting.
We get to do something for a good cause. And to be able, normally we do streets, so to be able to do something that's actually going to make a difference is really important to us.
We need to make sure that everybody is being treated equally and that we all live in love and peace, and I think that this message over here helps with that.
No matter who you are, where you're from, or what your beliefs are, or what your gender identity is, we're all equal. And to think that we can spread that message from Hollywood, California, and amplify it, it's going to help in the cause.
Governor Newsom extends the eviction moratorium, El Grito goes virtual, and the Staples Center becomes a voting site. These stories up next on City Beat.
Good news for California renters. Those who haven't been able to pay rent from March 1st through August 31st due to COVID-19 will not be evicted. This reprieve is thanks to a new bill signed by Governor Gavin Newsom. This bill also prevents evictions of those tenants through January 31st as long as they pay 25% of their rent throughout that time. This opportunity allows California residents a sigh of relief as the very real threat of homelessness still looms heavily due to the pandemic and the slow reopening of the state. El Grito is the holiday that marks the beginning of the Mexican War of Independence. And like most everything else, celebrating El Grito will be different for 2020. A pre-recording of the event took place on Alvarez Street with folk dancers and musicians as part of the El Grito Telethon. Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez was there conducting interviews. El Grito, known as El Grito de Dolores, began September 16, 1810 when Father Miguel Hidalgo called on the people of the parish in the Mexican town of Dolores to rise up against colonial rule. El Grito is celebrated on September 15th, the night before Mexican Independence Day. Starting October 30th through Election Day, November 3rd, residents will be able to cast their votes at the famed Staples Center in downtown LA. The arena will also serve as a drop-off point for anyone wishing to safely leave their ballots in a box. The designation of the Staples Center as an official polling site is part of the agreement between the Players Union and the League for the end of the boycott of the playoff games by the NBA players. The agreement requires the city of every NBA team to use their arena as a voting location.
LA 2050 is a community-guided initiative driving and tracking progress toward a shared vision for the future of Los Angeles. And one of this year's winners leads a co-op whose mission is about growing food in, by, and for its community.
I was raised as an Air Force brat all across the world. I graduated from high school in New Mexico. I went to college in Chicago, lived in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, New York City, and now here I'm leading Crop Swap LA. So my life's been fortunate in having a variety of experiences and exposure to different kinds of people, different foods. When I found out I was becoming a father, I panicked. What am I gonna feed this kid? I decided I'm going to build a garden and make the best food possible, and that'll be a practice that she'll grow into. Crop Swap LA is really about connecting people and food. So what we're doing is we're taking over front yards, empty lots, sometimes rooftops, to grow food where there isn't food growing already, and make nutrient-grown, locally sourced food available to everyone. So this is the compost pile where my family and I drop all of our food scraps from the kitchen. It's important to keep it turned, and it's important to keep it wet, so I've got irrigation spraying it every day twice. And if you do it right, you'll see there's a lot of life in there. Those worms are designed to keep your soil happy. They eat and they poop, and when they're done, your soil is happy. Over 100 gardeners got involved in the first 6 months. All you need is manure and some kind of hay or mulch, and then you can grow exactly where you are. So we were just awarded the LA 2050 grant for $50,000. What we're planning to do is take 7 front yards and convert them into gardens that are highly productive and put food directly into the local zip codes that they're grown in. We're also selling on the Crop Swap app. If you haven't downloaded, it's a really effective way to swap and share and send and sell food that it's growing on your property anyway. The real best place is to follow Instagram. We're LA Crop Swap on Instagram, and I'm Black Superdad on Instagram.
Organizations across the Southland have been providing meals and badly needed supplies to underserved communities as far back as January, and that need shows no sign of letting up. So neighborhood nonprofits are stepping up. In the Valley, the Department on Disabilities distributes meals to seniors, and on the west side, Venice Family Clinics load every care package with healthy eats. Take a look.
Today's event is a free food market. We know that there's patients who have food insecurities, and so what we want to do is that we want to be able to assist them. We really want to treat food as medicine, and the Venice Family Clinic, we've been providing free food markets now since January.
Just being able to wake up in the morning and not have any fear about food security or food stability is such a privilege that I recognize a lot of people in the greater LA community don't have.
Es demasiada ayuda para nosotros. Todos los servicios que tienen nos ayudan demasiado, especialmente ahora que más se necesita. Es de mucha ayuda porque así con eso tenemos un gasto menos en casa.
Es una despensa saludable, con verduras frescas, muy saludable para toda la gente que quiera venir a agarrar su despensa.
The way that we've adapted the free food market to the pandemic is that we've changed the way that we do things. When we first started our free food market back in January, pre-COVID, the patients were allowed to pick what they wanted, farmer market style. Now what we're doing is that, as you can see, we're pre-packaging our bags so that we can keep the touch very little and very minimal.
The Venice Family Clinic, we do our best to just show them that we're there for support, at least to give them free food as much as possible and our support and care. And one major theme that I've seen with Venice Family Clinic is just overwhelming compassion and understanding.
Today we are distributing personal protective equipment for families with developmental disabilities in the Los Angeles area. People with disabilities are at high risk already, and it's very important that if they are going to be exposed to the elements and going out to grocery stores or any other events or just walking around the block, right, to get some fresh air, that they are covered with what is required by the city in order to not only not expose others, but also to not expose themselves.
It's important for us to be here today to make sure we bring awareness to Latino families specifically who may not have the means to come by personal protective equipment so that they can be able to acquire it and make sure that they protect themselves.
¿Qué clase de ayuda busca usted aquí?
Pues ahorita ya lo que fuera lo necesario, algo como para protegernos de aquí, de la enfermedad y por lo que fuera,
Pues por lo regular creo que hay mucha diferencia a veces entre los recursos que familias latinas pueden recibir, así que es un orgullo para nosotros poder ofrecer este mismo equipo a personas latinas y aún más personas con discapacidades de desarrollo que, por cierto, aún a veces tienen menos recursos, así que es un placer poder pues cerrar este espacio que hay entre los recursos que necesitan.
Who doesn't love movies? When it comes to big screen entertainment, it looks like drive-ins are the order of the day. And in Culver City, one of the biggest studios in the business is opening their film library and their studio lot for the cinephiles who act fast and grab tickets while they last. And they are calling it the Sony Pictures Drive-In Experience. Get a load of this operation.
We are at the Sony Pictures Drive-In Experience. We all love movies so much. We make them here and we love going to see them in movie theaters all around the country, and we haven't been able to do that for the past 5 months. And it's so nice to be able to put up these amazing LCD screens and come together as a community to see movies again.
We're here to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm very excited being here.
Very fitting to be on a Hollywood studio to see a movie about movie making and Hollywood.
I think it's awesome. I'm a filmmaker myself. I'm a huge movie fan, and to be on a lot with such a legacy is really cool.
I've never been to a drive-in.
I think it's a lot of fun. I've always loved drive-ins since I was a kid. I wish I could go back to the 60s.
Our opening weekend film, one of them was Karate Kid, and if you remember that movie, at the end is a big fight scene. At the culmination of the fight scene, the entire audience erupted in cheers, and it just brought tears to my eyes of like that community feel, that family vibe, and just having fun as a group again in a safe way. We're being incredibly COVID safe. We have a limited number of cars. People have to remain in their cars for the entire time. They may use the restrooms, but you have to wear a mask.
It feels very safe. They were very organized. They were very precise about precautions and everything.
I'm very happy that we could come and see movies again in this day and age because of the virus, and I think this is a very great way of going to see movies together from cars now. It's awesome.
Wear the mask, keep apart, and come out.
Right now we're set to end the Monday after Labor Day, but we are trying to figure out if we can extend. We would love for everyone to come and experience the Sony Pictures Drive-In on the historic Sony Pictures lot.
Something like 7,000 Mexican Americans had died in Vietnam, and the boxes, aluminum boxes, were coming back to East LA, and we're saying, what's going on? Why are so many of us dying in Vietnam? And so we wanted to bring a stop to that, but also we wanted to bring a stop to the police brutality in East Los Angeles, and that's why we got involved to demonstrate, to voice our opinion. The demonstration is a poor man's press to express our grievances And the moratorium itself on August 29, 1970, I would say to some degree was a showdown between the police and the community, because the police came and they tried to clear the park. They came in hitting people on the head, arresting people. I think 500 people were arrested. The people had no choice but to fight back. Turned into one riot, turned into 3 more riots, and it just continued on to this point where Ruben Salazar stopped here at the Silver Dollar at this location, and he was shot in the head by a tear gas projectile, which killed him.
So, you know, I mean, we went from exuberance and excitement and, you know, great unity and pride to then being attacked and being, you know, fearful, scared, being, you know, extremely conscious about things that were going on around us, watching the police, you know, club people, looking at the tear gas, grenades, and trying to avoid them, trying to move people around so that they could be safe. And it was, you know, it was chaotic. And, you know, at some point, they overwhelmed the park, and I took off running right down the street. And then a car just pulled up on me and my friends. And fortunately, you know, I was a pretty good athlete then, and I was able to just scale the fence and run into a house where people were opening up the doors for people to come in. And they served us, you know, water and coffee and chocolate, and they shared their food with us. And everybody was talking about the Chicano movement and police brutality and all these things. And, you know, mostly I listened because I was young and I was learning. And then when things calmed down, I started walking home. And then, of course, my father came and admonished me, I'll say. and only the way that a former boxer and a paratrooper could do, admonished me for not being careful. These protesters and dreamers are going to be the future political, social, and cultural leaders of our community. So let's understand that and embrace that and applaud that. But remember, you're trying to make change and influence people. And that's not easy. That's a lifelong endeavor for many of us. And so be constructive, be positive, and be safe.
Go online for Latina Empowerment Day. Do carry out for Dine LA, Italy, Los Angeles, yum, or adopt a kitten via drive-thru. All this and more next on Virtual Things to Do.
Mark your calendars, Los Angeles. Dine LA is back this September 1st through the 18th. Head to their rooftop restaurant for incredible views alongside wood-fired dishes. Staying in? Get a taste of Italy at home. Whether you are dining indoors or ordering in, Italy LA has got you covered with specialty Dine LA menus for over 2 weeks straight. Don't miss Dine LA Italy Los Angeles. The event begins September 1st and runs through the 18th. Italy Los Angeles is located at 10250 Santa Monica Boulevard. For more information, visit Italy.com. Latina Empowerment Day 2020 is here. Join Hispanis Organized for Political Equality, HOPE, for a regional virtual event series. They'll address local COVID-19 economic and health updates, prepare for a secure financial future through retirement savings, and learn how leadership today can make an impact today by serving on California's boards and commissions. This session is free and open to all, but registration is required. Latina Empowerment Day will begin its regional online events beginning September 10th. For details, visit events-latinas.org. Join Best Friends Animal Society September 13th for a brand new COVID-19 style adoption event. Adopt a kitten from your car. Stay socially distant from the safety of your car while viewing their available kittens. Then complete the adoption process from one of their reserved parking spots. Take your kitten home the same day. They even have pre-packaged kitten start kits for purchase. Please sign up in advance. Walkthroughs are welcome. Masks required. The Best Friends Animal Society Kitten Drive-Thru Adoption event happens September 13th. For more information, check out their listing on Eventbrite. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
That's it for this edition. I'm Rasha Goel. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. And a reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. Don't forget, we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.